Welcome to book club numero uno, starting out with Red Rising. So pumped. Look, I'm assuming that if you're here, you understand that we're going to be talking about Red Rising and that I'm going to be discussing all the things that happen. So if you haven't read it, maybe just don't keep listening because you're going to find out what happens. So chapter 1, we meet Darrow. He's our young 16-year-old main character. He's living on Mars in this tunnel system. It reminds me a little bit of an anthill. Everybody on Mars is underground, living and working in the mines because they're trying to get enough helium-3, and I guess the helium-3 is what it's going to help them to live up there on Mars, outside the underground. These people, the Reds, so you have the Golds, the main dudes, they're the rulers of the humans at this point. And then the Reds, which is what Darrow is, they are the slaves. And he's working in the mines. I get the feel that they're actually red people. Like, they've got red eyes. Is this accurate? And red hair. Like, I just am envisioning these little tiny red people, little hobbit type people, living and working in these mines. Anyways, so Darrow is a hell diver. Hell divers like this. He's the BA. This is the job that all the people look up to. Like, he's the youngest, I think. Sounds like he's the youngest. He seems to be smarter and faster. He's a little cocky, a little arrogant, but in an endearing way, like not in a way that makes you dislike him, in a way that's like, hey, I know that I'm smarter and I'm faster. So he's on the drill and he's drilling down and everyone's like, whoa, bro, hold on. You got to calm down for a second. We got to check out and see what's happening. And he's like, hey, it's just a little air pocket, no big deal, I can handle it. Or a gas pocket maybe. And they're like, hold your roll, you need to pay attention to your elders, you've been here all of 5 seconds. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll listen. And then he's like, you know what, I'm competing to get the laurel here. I think the other clans in this tunnel system all compete for a laurel, and the laurel is like extra supplies, extra food, and every quarter they're seeing who can mine the most. So he goes down. He decides not to listen after he's like, yeah, I'll obey. He's like, you know what? No, this is going to take too much time. I've done the calculations and we got to go in and I can do this. So he goes down and he does the thing. Does he burn himself? He does. I think he might even regret it for a second. But all's well that ends well, and it ended well, and he won the laurel. So everyone's like, ooh, Darrow, you're so awesome. And he's like, yeah, that's right. So he goes home to his little wife of 6 months, 16. Sounds like, back in the days, like back in our days when people were getting married at 14 and going to work, and, it seems kind of like that here. Like, they're 16 and they're getting married. His little wifey is at home, and she's like, she seems a little bit like a conspiracy theorist to me. I get those vibes from her. She's like, of course, they want us to be enslaved to them. I think they're very, very malnourished people. They're poor. They don't have enough food. They're working to the bone. They go to this big celebration or gathering where the powers that be come and announce who won. And lo and behold, the Gamma tribe won. The Gamma is the rival tribe, and even though they didn't earn it, they still won it. And Io, that's his wife's name, she's like, of course they did, because they want us to have it just out of reach to know who's in power and who's in control. And anyways, so this is announced. He's pretty ticked. She's like, come on, boy, let's go. I've got a surprise for you. She takes him down through this tunnel to this hidden forest that she's discovered. He's not seen a forest before. He's looking at the forest, the trees and the animals, and he's amazed. And she's like, I want you to grow a pair and fight against this tyranny. And he's like, what do you want me to do? And she's like, sacrifice your life if you have to. And he's like, all I want to do is love my wife. I want to go to work, be a hell diver, and come home and love my wife. And she's like, that's not enough. They leave this little surprise and they run into some Greys. The Greys, I guess, they're bigger. They're like literally bigger. They're like 2 feet taller. So they're bigger. They're kind of the enforcers, and them getting caught in this forest that does not belong to them and where they shouldn't be means they get lashing. And Eo's like, fight, Darrow. And he's like, girl, I ain't gonna fight. If I fight, I hang. So they both get arrested. They're in jail for 3 days. 3 days, they're paraded in front of all the people, and the arch governor of Mars is there to see this lashing. And also, I guess why I get the Hunger Games feels, because there's like HC systems. So you have like the TV system down there, and you've got like the sovereign, the woman that's like in charge of, I don't know, is she in charge of all the planets? I'm not really sure, but she's like Loon, something like that. She's like, y'all are the brave souls who've gone before. Y'all are the brave souls that are paving the way for us softer colors. Obedience is key and hard work. Basically, that's what they're saying. So he gets called out on stage. They're lashing him, and they call his wife up to get her lashes. Okay, let me just pause for a second. One of the things that they talk about is them being a people of song and dance. He mentions this more than once, and I'm like, so are y'all like little, like, are you little dwarfs from from Snow White? Like, hi ho, it's off to work we go. But then they're actually colored. Like, are they little red people? They have red eyes. We know that, and red hair. Like, they all have red hair. Sounds a little incestuous, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Anyway, so there are certain dances and songs that are not allowed to be sung and danced. His dad danced this forbidden dance at one point, and he got hanged for it. So he gets his lashes. He's there watching his wife. He's keeping eye contact. He doesn't want to look at her because his wife's being beat in front of everybody, but at the same time, she's like making eye contact with him, and he's like, I'm here for you, baby. And then she's got this look in her eyes, and he's like, no. And then she starts singing the forbidden song. And he's like crying and begging her to stop. And the arch governor's like, let her finish her song. And then he's like, you idiot. You are to be hanged. And she gets to give somebody her last words. And she calls her sister up there instead of Darrow. And Darrow's like, I'm not gonna be mad at her because I don't want her to see anything but love when she takes her last breath. But she goes and tells her sister something. Her sister starts crying. Okay, so when they get hung, because of gravity maybe, I think that's what it was, their loved ones have to pull their feet and like yank them and break their neck. So Darrow gets to go kill his wife. Okay, so that's what happens. Okay, so after this happens, they're not allowed to bury their dead. They have to let them hang there as a reminder that you don't defy the golds. So every day that he goes to work, he's gonna have to walk by his wife's hanging body. And he's like, you know what? Screw this. I don't want to live anyways. I just wanted to live and love her, and I don't have her anymore. So I'm gonna cut her down and bury her, and then I'll meet her in the veil. He goes and cuts her down and buries her. Next morning, you're being hanged. His uncle Neril comes and pulls his feet, and our main character is hanged. That's where we're at. That's where part 1 leaves off. I know that this is not how it ends because you can't kill your main character. Like, he's your main character, so. And he started feeling a little fuzzy there at the end, so I'm like, okay, yeah, you're not dead. But we'll find out later what happens to Darrow. Stay tuned.